And welcome to the 16th episode of the TechnoBuffalo Show. I'm one of your two hosts for today, Sean Ani, editor-in-chief of the site, and I'm joined by executive editor of Mobile, Todd Hazelton.
Hey, everybody.
Yes, no Joey this week. He's on vacation, but to be fair, next week there will be no Todd because he'll be on vacation.
Yeah, that's right. It's that time of year.
It's that time of year, except for me. I wait till November.
Yeah, when it's cold. And you go to cold places.
You know, the funny thing is, England, which I've gone to for the past 3 years, is actually warmer than Kirksville.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
It'll be like in the 20s here, and when I get to Manchester, it'll be like 52. I mean, yeah, it gets down into like the high 30s at night, but it's warmer than Missouri for whatever odd reason.
Huh.
So, even without Joey, we have several things we want to go over. First off, Todd, I would like to start showing you pictures of sad puppies and see how this affects your emotional state.
Facebook? Yeah.
I know that wasn't on the show notes, but the more I think about that,
we have to talk about that. Yeah. I'll turn on my little logo down there. Yeah, that's crazy. So Facebook published a report in a journal that they were tooling with the emotions of their users in a way that, so like some users would see, I think it was like 680,000 users, right? And so some would see primarily posts that were negative feeling, and the others would see positive. And what they found was that they can actually change the emotions of their users by showing them different types of posts. Now that seems kind of obvious, right? Like if you're watching a sad movie, you might be sad, and you're watching a comedy, you might be happy. But I think the big question is, did Facebook invade our privacy, or the protected, however we're protected online? And now one of the UK regulators, an independent regulator, said today that they're going to investigate Facebook to see if they broke those laws. And Facebook faces a fine, I think, of like £500,000, which is like a slap on the wrist for Facebook, like we said in the article. But they could also force Facebook to change policies, which I think would be wise. I mean, obviously, everybody's doing A/B testing. That's what Facebook does on a daily basis to see what their users are doing, how they're interacting with this site. I mean, you'll see a lot of big news sites. We don't do it so much, but big news sites will have like 2 headlines, and they'll see which one's more attractive depending on the demographic and stuff. So that kind of testing, I feel like, is fair game. But this whole like psychological, like they're actually tooling with people's emotions, making people sad by showing sad content. That's kind of weird.
Well, there are times where we send out one headline to the actual site and we send out a different headline to Google.
Right.
That's not an emotional test. I've grown up around psychologists, and I have psychologist friends, and this has to be about the most unethical test I have ever heard of in my life.
Right, yeah, it's crazy. I can't believe it. I mean, and it's public, too. Like, they're not keeping it a secret. They actually published the results in a journal.
And I love how they were like, we don't see a problem with this.
It's one of those things where, like, you start to wonder, like, honestly, I'm not worried about my privacy on Facebook, whatever, but I'm just like, wow, if this is a company that's doing that, I don't really want to use that service. And it reminds me of a rumor. This is a rumor I heard, but I forget who told me. The Foursquare CEO, Dennis Crowley, apparently copied a bib for the Boston Marathon this year, a bib number that was somebody else's, just so he could run in the race. And knowing that the CEO of a company that I use did that, I was like, wow, I really don't want to use Foursquare anymore. Like, that's such a terrible move. So, like, that's what bothers me, that people think they can get away with this kind of stuff.
I'm befuddled. I'm completely befuddled, but I had to address that. I mean, it's been bothering me all week. I don't use Facebook that much, so I really can't tell you, if I was involved in the test or not, because most of the time my timeline is filled with old high school friends going, hey, what's everyone doing?
Yeah, see, I used to use it more when the news feed was in order of most recent, and now it's just sort of the way Facebook's playing with this. Like, they're just throwing the most popular ones that it thinks you're going to want to read, and that's not how I operate.
Well, what's for my personal blog, that was actually, I published my full post to my Facebook page, and that was actually how John Rettinger kept up with my blog. And now, under this new system, he can't remember the last time he saw one of my posts. And we both thought that, there should be a way for him to mark, I want to see these.
Right.
And there's not. Facebook is deciding what's important to you. But,
and that happens with fan pages, too. Like, if you like TechnoBuffalo, that doesn't mean you're going to see our posts, unfortunately. It's like, they'll populate, but it doesn't mean that they're always going to be right in front of you because it's their algorithms, which is wild.
Exactly. So we did have some topics we wanted to get to this week, and I wanted to sidetrack there for a minute. So Galaxy S5 Mini was announced this week. What do you think is the reason that the companies have decided, why not call it something else? Why call it...
Yeah, I can see that. Well, I've talked to when, like some of the presidents of HTC, for example, President Jason McKenzie had explained once that one of the reasons they have these mini devices is to fill out the families. So, like, someone goes in a store, if they're not going to, for whatever reason, the HTC One M8 screen is too big, but they still want like a premium product, one that matches that family, then they go with the smaller one, which is often more affordable. They put slightly lower clock speed processors and stuff like that inside of them. So that was the explanation I've had. And then they usually have, like in the case of HTC, another family of devices for the mid-tier. So like in that case, it's Desire at even lower price points. And so I think that's what Samsung's doing here. And also in a lot of the in the talks I've had with other journalists too, I know there's a demand for phones with like 4.5-inch, 4.7-inch screens. So I think Samsung's also meeting that market and probably giving everybody the options across the board, which I think is good. And I think it's great that they kept things like the heart rate monitor and the fingerprint reader and all of that. So it's not really a huge sacrifice. IP67 resisting against water and dust.
Well, the thing with to me, the Mini name doesn't say like budget to me. It's
right.
As someone that was walking in, it would make me think I'm getting less for my money.
Yeah. Which is true in some cases in terms of like the processor and storage in a lot of cases. But I don't know. I do know that they try to like keep that name, the Galaxy S5, in these products, and then just sell like a smaller version so that people who don't buy the 5 have that other option.
Right. I mean, and with the Galaxy S5, and especially with the Galaxy S4, it was definitely a fact that it was a family because you had the Zoom, the Active, the Mini, and the Galaxy S4 itself, and in the same track is happening. What did they call the Active for the S5? What was the...
They called it the Active again, but Sprint has a different version. I don't even remember.
That's right. I was thinking of the Sprint version.
Yeah, Sprint.
So I can understand, but the whole concept of the mini phone. I understand we're different creatures. We're not your average consumer. Whenever they come out with a product and they say, starts at this price, we all immediately go, okay, now how much is it going to cost for our version?
Right.
Because we're going to max everything out.
Right. 32 gigs of storage version.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is usually, I mean, you look at it, it's usually like $100 more for whatever reason, even though storage is dirt cheap for these companies.
Well, and especially like, we keep talking about Project Ara, and they're like, the frame will be $50, and we're like, yeah, and how much are we going to spend on modules?
Yeah, and everything else I want.
Yeah, because
right
we're
back up to that price.
We're going to buy the best camera. We're going to buy the largest memory capacity. We're going to buy the best processor.
Yep.
This is going to end up being a $1,000 phone.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. And then, yeah, it will be expensive.
Yeah, it'll be nuts.
I mean, you look at what we're talking about, even with the iPhone 6 rumors and the 5.5-inch screen, that's apparently going to be $100 more. But that makes sense, right? Because the display is the most expensive component typically. And I think Apple was going to add other standout features like the optical image stabilization, OIS, and stuff like that. So
we have a question here from Plaz Flame. Do you think the quote mini unquote phones released by Samsung, HTC, etc., with their 4.5-inch screens has had an impact on iPhone users with their 3.5 or 4-inch screens?
Yeah, certainly. I think that's a huge impact to the point where Apple was addressing it now with the rumored 4.7-inch iPhone to sort of come back and answer these 4.5-inch and 4.7-inch screens, because I think HTC, Samsung, LG have all done a really, really good job, Motorola especially with the Moto X, showing that you can have a 4.5-inch, 4.7-inch screen that's not too big for users who still think 5-inch screens are big. And they are out there. Like, I'm pretty used to a 5-inch screen these days, but I still go out with friends, and they're like, what are you carrying, a tablet? Because I deal with it every day. To me, it doesn't seem so big, but... yeah, there you go. Galaxy Mega. Was that 6.3?
Yep, the 6.3.
Yeah. So certainly, yes, this is... Yeah. So I think they have had an impact for sure on Apple.
And of course, the question follows: when can I get a Galaxy W?
Yeah. So big though. I mean, even the what is it, the Lumia 1520 with the 6-inch screen? I feel really weird holding that up to my head.
Yeah.
Beautiful phone.
But I mean, luckily, I'm a giant. So I mean, you look at the 6.3 in my hand; it doesn't look
I have
that
anything
outrageous.
really that big. I don't think I have anything that big floating around.
Yeah, I mean, and for those of you listening on audio, I'm holding the 6.3, and I'm.
It looks normal.
Yeah, I'm 6'4", so
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like a normal sized phone.
It does.
To me.
Now
But
here's my hand with.
I do.
1MB.
Oh, and I forgot to turn off my air conditioner. So, excuse me for just one moment, Todd, while you talk about mini phones.
Hey everybody, I'm just here talking about mini phones. Maybe he'll open up that curtain today, huh? Anyway, so I guess what Sean's getting on about, and we're getting back to the answer there, was these mini phones, and can they take, or are they an answer and an impact on the iPhone? And I think absolutely they are, and that's why we're going to see Apple boost it yet again, because they already moved up to 4 inches, and now we're going to go to 4.7, which I think is the right move. And now, with the screen technology and parts getting smaller than ever, you can actually have those nice big displays, and like Moto X showed us, without too much bulk in your hands. That's
was that Christopher Miles' question you were answering, Todd?
Yeah, I was just going back to that.
Okay, no problem. Well, actually, no, this is the question from Christopher Miles. With the iPhone probably going to at least 4.7 inches, do you think Android vendors will try to seriously address the sub-5-inch market? Now, that's an interesting question, because they've all been going to the phablet size. Is there a chance that they're going to try to come back under 5 inches to compete with this?
Yes, I think we'll always see that, and that's what we see with the S5 Mini, the 1 Mini. I think they're going to continually hit that market. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything's going to change in that part. I think it's actually Apple answering to these Android devices rather than Android answering to Apple. And especially, I mean, if you look at the market share globally, it's going to continue to be that way, I think.
Well, Christopher Miles has a follow-up question that is definitely fitting. Do you think other OEMs will follow Sony's lead with the Z1 Compact to make a flagship-level smaller phone?
I really hope so, but from what I've heard, when I talk to companies, there's no interest in doing that. So I don't think it's going to happen.
Why not, though?
I know. I think it's a great idea. I'd love that Sony did that, and I think a lot of people did. It got great press. And yet people, I mean, nobody else has done this. And like with HTC, for example, a lot of times before the 1 Mini came out last year, we really thought that they were going to sort of beef that up, and it didn't happen. And of course, it didn't happen this year, which is wild, because what they do then is launch the bigger phablets with all this hardware. And I think a lot of people want the smaller phones. So,
yeah, there's definitely a market there. Not everybody wants their flagship phone to be 5.1, 5.2, or larger. Right. So, so if the rumors are true about the iPhone 6, in theory, we're going to get the exact same specs in two different sizes phones.
Mm-hmm.
But that says a lot, I think. I think there is a market out there. Of course, I mean, Apple's Apple. They're going to do whatever they want. So,
right. But I think if this 5.5-inch iPhone is real, and it seems like it is, this is definitely an answer to all the phablets out there, to Samsung. I mean, finally, Because when the original Note came out, that was like almost a joke. Everybody was like, "What? That's huge! It's crazy!" And now it's such a popular handset, and everybody's looking forward to the Note 4 this year. And so Apple is answering that. And particularly in the conversations I've had with these companies, Asia is a big market for these big screen devices, and I think Apple is obviously trying to push forward in China. China Mobile is the world's largest wireless carrier, so I think it's pretty important to have the devices they want there. Although at the price points, Apple's been missing the price point. They don't come low enough in China. But.
Well, speaking of options, like mini phones and Z1 Compact and all that, something I wanted to address that you and I have talked about time and time again, and annoys us both, colors.
Yeah. Oh, colors drive me nuts.
I mean, I cannot for the life of me figure out, nobody in their right mind is going to go out and buy, say, the white Galaxy S5, and then 3 months later a blue one comes out and they're going to go, oh, I got to trade in.
But that's what's so annoying, right? Because I want the blue one at launch. Or the red one M8, which looks amazing, by the way, but it's an exclusive to Verizon.
I think what the companies aren't thinking about is all they're actually doing is setting up animosity from their current owners.
Right. And like the early adopters who are kind of like, oh.
Yeah, so more and more people are going to end up waiting 3 to 6 months because they want a specific color.
Yeah, exactly. Which is crazy. But I understand, I talked to T-Mobile and Sony once when they were launching the I want to say it was this Z1S, and they said, well, purple only available online, not in store, and I'm like, why is that? And they said, well, and I guess you know from retail experience too that they can't carry all this stock of all these different colors in each store versus having a warehouse where it ships from online. So I get that, but the Galaxy S5, if it's just online in blue from AT&T, I'd like to be able to buy it, but it's not even available from them. And then
there's a simple solution. You put a color card up, because people that tend to go to carrier stores aren't going to be the same ones that shop online. Right. So they're actually missing sales by not at least having a color card up in the store saying we can ship you the purple.
Yeah, but the crazy thing, I guess, is that in what we're talking about is AT&T, say, or whatever, T-Mobile, who cares, has their current black and white models of the phone, and then all of a sudden 3 months later Samsung's like, oh, now we're giving you the exclusive blue model, and that's what's so frustrating. It should have just been available from the start.
And believe us, folks, we know we're being nitpicky. We're talking about colors for crying out loud.
But we should say why we're talking about it, because of the rumors of this yellow Nexus 5 that keep popping up, and Sean and I are both just like, are you kidding me? It's a year-old phone. I mean, I love the Nexus 5. It's a great phone.
Oh, yeah.
But meanwhile, these pictures are it's the picture of the phone in a bumper.
Yeah. Well, now, to be fair, there was the one mention of the word yellow on the site.
So briefly. It's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why they don't do all the colors at once. You try to offer as much choice as you can at the beginning to appease every customer, because if a customer comes in and they're looking and they go, well, I'd buy the Galaxy S5 if it was in blue, but this phone in blue over here, I'm going to go with this one. And then 3 months later, oh, now they release a blue?
Yeah, right. It's crazy. You know what I was just thinking, though? The yellow Nexus 5, let's just say it's not called Lollipop and it's called Lemon something, then I could see why that's launched at that time.
Okay, here's why they will never call it lemon.
Why? Oh, because, it'd be like a lemon, like a bad car.
They will not call it lemon meringue. They will not call it lemon tart. They will not call it lemon.
Yeah, because you'd have reporters out there like, Android Lemon's a lemon.
Yeah, exactly. No way lemon is involved in that title.
Yeah, you're right. But anyway, that was my theory.
Now, here's an interesting thought from Brantley Jensen. Should they have a phone with a body that changes color with LCD light?
That'd be crazy.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
Your battery life would be awful.
Not really with LCDs.
Yeah, I know, but when you look at these devices, most of the time, I guess they're better now, but usually under battery, it's the one thing that's consuming your battery the most.
But
or go with an AMOLED.
bought my first LCD light bulb.
Oh yeah.
And it's drawing 9 watts of power.
No, that's LED.
Oh, LED. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're correct.
LED would be better because the pixels turn on and off and stuff like an OLED.
Yes, you are 100% right, and I imagine that's probably what Brantley was thinking as well. Yes, LED would make a world of difference. But yes, so a phone lined with LED lights that you could change the color as you want, or make it blink, or make it half and half.
The rave phone.
But yeah, I just bought my first LED light bulb, and yeah, it was expensive as heck, but man, it puts out good light, and it's drawing 9 watts for 60 watts equivalent of an incandescent.
Wow.
And it's more attractive looking than the curly CFLs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there you go. Maybe lime pie. That's a good question.
Is lime pie really a dessert?
No, I think it's key lime pie.
yeah, because we thought Kit Kat was going to be key lime pie for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Because we didn't realize licensed names were a possibility.
Yeah, and that's a funny story. Back at Mobile World Congress, I guess, what was it, 2012? I think they met with Nestle and decided on that pretty well.
Yeah. From Christopher Miles, how big of a factor do you think color plays in choosing a phone? It didn't seem to help out that much with Moto X all that much.
That's a good question. I think it's really probably not that. Yeah.
No, to be very blunt, we don't think color plays a lot of options. And
yeah, you get a case and like I have the one I made.
My iPhone is in a case all the time, and yes, I purposefully bought an atrocious color so I would. Everyone always asks me why my phone's in such a ugly case, but. Yeah, so we don't think that the color really does play much of an option. It's just we don't understand why the companies don't just release all the options at once to appeal to the most consumers possible. That's where we're confused.
Exactly. And the Moto X, I think it actually did help because it's one of the few phones, I mean the only phone in the United States, where you can go in and say, like, I want the pink one with the blue camera. Well, that's the only one in the world that you can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was kind of cool. And it's a great phone.
And I was tempted to get a Moto X. The whole thing was the screen size was a little small for me. I'm still using an LG G2. Yes, I have 3 phones I'm currently using. And it would replace my LG G2, and I was like, I really like the LG G2 screen size, so that's why I didn't end up going with the Moto X.
Yeah. But that's a perfect example of a phone with a big screen and a compact body because the bezels just are not there.
The G2 is an awesome phone. I can't wait to... I'm going out to Irvine here in a couple weeks, and I'll finally get to play with the G3.
Yeah, I want to play with the G3 more. I haven't had one for much. It's all out of California.
And we'll see if I make it out of the office with the G3 when I leave. I doubt I will, but... Anyone seen the G3? Bye, everybody!
That's what I did with the Nexus 5. I just bought it off them.
Oh, why not?
Yeah.
So, let's see. What else did we have? Well, I don't even know how to address this because I don't fully understand the whole T-Mobile billing situation.
Yeah, I know. You know what? Brandon covered that more than I did, so I was only reading his coverage. But it's apparently they were tacking on these premium SMS charges onto customer bills, but kind of hiding them apparently, so it was hard to see. So there's billions, right? They said of dollars, or was it millions? I think it was billions.
Billions, which
is crazy. And then T-Mobile CEO comes back and says, like, look, we've been fighting this. It wasn't us. It might have been these like third parties. I think he was saying.
And to be fair, remember Laguerre has not been the CEO that long.
Right, but apparently it's been going on since 2012, and I think it was ongoing. It wasn't so much.
Oh no, they dated it back to 2004.
Oh, it went back that far. Yeah, so that's way before his time with them.
Yeah, wait.
And his fight now is like, look, I'm trying to be transparent. I'm saying I am. To be fair with that, I don't see them being transparent with everything. I think often we have to come back as the press and say, like, well, look, I think he really meant this. In the case of the free music streaming with unlimited rate plans. It's not all unlimited plans, as you found out. So I think there are some cases where they're still not very transparent, and we'll just watch this and see how it unfolds. But right now, T-Mobile is being accused of tacking on billions of charges, and T-Mobile says it's innocent.
Every time the music streaming commercial comes on TV now, I just sit there and go,
Yeah, because on stage they said, for our unlimited subscribers.
Yeah, I know.
Except
and
some
I
of
subscribed in October.
Yeah, it's not like it's years ago. You don't have that much of a grandfather plan.
Yeah, I know, exactly. So at the time, let's see, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So it had been 7 months since I had signed up.
Yeah,
and I no longer qualified as new.
Yeah, you were already grandfathered within a year. That's insane.
Within like a half a year.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a problem.
It was funny, though, is that the whole thing was rolling out yesterday. John Laguerre, who is a very frequent Twitter user, he just went silent all of a sudden.
Yeah.
He came back a little bit later, but he also wasn't making Sprint like hell jokes or AT&T jokes or Verizon jokes.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting...
I mean, that's... Yeah, when you're trying to fight against all... I mean, I'm not even going to quote what he said, but he was saying that the other carriers are really bad guys, and then all of a sudden you're accused of stealing billions of dollars from your customers? Like, uh-oh. That doesn't look very good.
Yeah, thank you for not quoting him.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, the CEO said this, and, like, I can't even quote him on a podcast. Look it up, though.
Yeah, no, it's easy to find.
Find it everywhere.
The final topic we wanted to touch on, and then we'll get to the other questions that have come in. So the AP, now this is not new. We've heard of this before. The AP announced this week that they're going to be employing robots to write stock earning reports. And
God bless them, because those reports are not fun.
They're not fun, but the first time I heard about robots being used to write stories was sports reporting, and just like after a game ends, it reads the score, reads through the stats, and forms a story and publishes it. And I think it was on average, each story was going to run them like, I want to say like $8 or something like that.
Right.
Which is cheaper than a human writer in a lot of cases, or not in some cases of places I worked before TechnoBuffalo.
Yeah, freelancing's not fun.
Yeah, I worked one place where I earned $3 a post. Yay!
Yeah, I've been paid by the word before. That's weird.
When I was a magazine writer, I was paid by the word.
Yeah. Magazines.
Yeah, and the best I ever did was 50 cents a word.
No, I don't even remember. It wasn't very much.
Yeah, it was for a special unlicensed Star Wars magazine, which I got offered the job right after I had been approved by Lucasfilm to work in official Star Wars publication, so I couldn't write under my name.
Oh, wow. I've done pen names before, too.
Yeah, so I will not reveal the pen name, but there are 4 articles out there written by this other individual.
I think I have about a dozen under a pen name from years ago.
Yeah, but it was a large paycheck, so I was like, pen name.
Pen name, yeah, exactly.
And they were fine with it, so I was like, okay, send me a check. Just make sure it's not made out to the pen name.
But robots, that's crazy that they're capable of doing this. I mean, I think it talks to the advances of technology and dictation, but wow, we're in trouble.
Well, in the case of TechnoBuffalo, something I've worked very hard to do is I try to allow all of you guys to have your own voice. If you read one of Brandon's articles, you will not confuse it with one of your articles.
Right. I'm kind of more boring.
You won't confuse me with Joey and so on. I mean, there are sites out there that they homogenize the way their writers work, and I couldn't tell, I'll start reading the stories and I have no clue who wrote it until I look at the byline.
Right, like when you look at, for example, the AP, when they have such strict style guides and stuff.
Exactly, and we do follow style guide. We follow style guides on small things like should there be a hyphen in Wi-Fi, and do you italicize this type of word, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I encourage all of you guys to have your own voices. Now, yes, Todd, when you're doing like a stock report, yeah, it's dry. But when you write one of your editorials, is definitely
right,
definitely not dry. Now, I understand that the AP is only planning to use these robots in business reporting, which is a dry area, but it's going to be very odd. There's going to be absolutely no human flavor to it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just going to be... But I could see, like, in terms of trying to get breaking news up quickly, which I assume is the only reason you really want to do this. I mean... I guess if you're trying to save money on boring stories, but I think for like sports scores, earnings reports, stuff like that, where it's like boom, it's up, then it probably makes a lot of sense.
Well, let's just agree.
Except the headlines, like I'm curious about how the headlines will work, because that's one of the most important things in an article. And how does a robot make a good headline? I guess it could just say like GM Q4 earnings.
Yeah, but are you going to click on that?
No, that's the thing. So
I don't know. I can see where there's a niche of readers that will want to read this style of writing, if you can even call it a style, because it's an algorithm.
Right. The robotic style.
I don't know. I don't feel threatened. I don't see John Rettinger going out and hiring, the Todd Bot 400.
Yeah, I think it's for different industries.
And next year, when the ToddBot 400 plus comes out,
I got to upgrade.
He's got to upgrade. He's got a faster processor.
It's awesome.
Even on its worst day, it's still running faster than Todd ever did.
That's slowpoke. I see one of the listeners here. Watchers, Christopher Miles says maybe OEMs delayed colors to keep phones in the headlines every couple of months, and that's absolutely true.
I saw that question. I was thinking about it as we were discussing other things. I think that's a very interesting idea there, but at the same time, you're like mainstream press isn't going to be writing about it. Only press like us is going to write about it. So are we a big enough factor for the companies to worry about?
Well, we cater to fans, right, and to enthusiasts, and that's sort of like that's perfect for these companies releasing new colors. But I think also you'll see, and I know that like Samsung will sometimes come into New York City, and I'm like, oh, you guys are in town, what's up? And they're like, well, we're meeting with the lifestyle magazines because we have, like we're showing them the new colors of the Galaxy S5, and then they bring them in, they get photographed, and they show up in next month's issue. So in a lot of ways, colors do go to the mainstream press, just not always mainstream tech press.
Gotcha. No, okay, that's interesting.
And like Fashion Week stuff, you'll see like sometimes they'll have limited edition cases and that kind of stuff.
Oh, Fashion Week. Okay. That's... Todd, I'm sending you there on assignment.
No.
Yep. You're going to Fashion Week. There's no choice. I want you to report on all the latest Betty Johnson designs.
Yeah.
It was fun with a flourish.
Yeah. It's wild.
Here's a question that is sure to ignite a firestorm.
Oh.
From Usama Awan, I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Which is the best operating for gaming, iOS or Android? I'm going to go hide in the corner behind the sheet.
That's totally like I guess if the games are available that you want to play, pick that platform. I'm trying to tread carefully here. Look, Android in some ways could be better if you want a phone with a bigger screen, maybe. But you can also play on an iPad. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what mobile gaming I do, I typically do on my iPad. So
in terms of graphics, though, these days I think the high-end Android and iPhone look pretty similar to me. I don't usually do them side by side. And then we have Android has their new gaming engine, I guess, coming out, but it's named so developer friendly and not consumer friendly that I forget it. But also iOS, Apple has Metal that they're calling, and that looked really, really amazing during WWDC. So we'll see what comes out of that too. But
I think a lot of it depends on the hardware that's in the tablet too. So
yeah.
No. From Sachin Bahal, there he is. I wondered where he was.
Hey.
What are your thoughts on Google and OEMs on Android Wear TV and Auto and how they aren't letting them put skins on? Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, and I'm a fan of some of the skins. I like Sense 6 a lot, but I love Nexus 5 too, and how it's just pure and simple. And I think with Android Wear and the car stuff, just leave it simple. Otherwise, especially if you want mass adoption among consumers, like you can't have all this stuff floating around. They're just gonna be like, "What the heck's going on?" I don't want this.
No, I am totally behind this because, somebody that picks up an HTC phone and then looks at a TouchWiz, yeah, they're going to feel somewhat similar, but at the same time, they're going to go, well, this isn't exactly like what I had. With the television, I think that the best example I heard about the television is if you're using a television in your family room, it should have the same interface as the television in your bedroom, even if it's from a different manufacturer. That nailed it.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of how it should work.
Yeah,
and why it should have skins. The thing that I guess that's crazy though is like, so Android Auto runs on your phone, right? You plug it into the system, so it's entirely powered. So even though your phone with Android L still has TouchWiz, it's just completely stripped off for the car.
Yeah, I think once you plug it into the car, it's going to strip off TouchWiz
and just keep it basic.
Right, and be a different interface on the... Which, again, I bring up, how many cars actually have displays in them?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, newer ones, right? But, like, my car doesn't.
No, mine definitely doesn't.
And like I said last show, I like putting my phone up on the dash, and turn on my directions, and that's that.
From Nathan Golisrin, again, guys, I'm sorry. Will the Android L developer version have regular updates till release? Todd, you've dealt with this before.
Great question. I just installed it, and it's actually really stable for my use. I have it pretty much as a daily driver, but not with a SIM card in. Like I'm carrying it with Wi-Fi, and it's charging right now. I hope so, because I'd like to see what else changes. And there are still like bugs, especially in some apps like Facebook. If you click a comment, it does all this weird stuff, at least on my phone. So I hope there's regular updates, but I'm also happy that it's not so buggy that I can't use it, which is what happened to me with iOS 8, honestly. Beta 2 was still way too buggy for me. I went back to 7.1. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I hope there's regular updates, because it'd be cool to see new features.
Yeah, I think there will be regular updates. From Sasha Bahal, do you think Android L will be version 4.5 or 5.0? I am betting 5.
I'm going to go 5 too, because it's such a major update. I mean, they're saying that they're changing everything, and they really are. So I think we'll see it go to 5.
Second geeky reason?
Why?
L in the Greek alphabet is 50.
Oh, that's awesome. Didn't even know that. There you go.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the big...
I'm really curious why they didn't reveal the name for L yet. Like why hold that back?
Because Laffy Taffy's holding up for more money.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Will we see Shia LaBuffalo on the show? Shia LaBuffalo is in the Irvine office, so if I do a show while I'm out there, he might make an appearance. But, from Mr.
Shia LaBuffalo, by the way, for people who don't know, is a statue of a buffalo that we have in the office that was just featured in a YouTube video. So go check it out.
If you don't know why it's called Shia LaBuffalo, that dates back to the very early days of TechnoBuffalo when we held a contest to name the buffalo in the logo.
Yep.
And Shia LaBuffalo won the contest. From Mr. Krasman123, what do you guys think of the new software buttons in Android L? I personally prefer the old ones. The new ones look like weird PlayStation buttons. Yes, they do.
They do look like weird PlayStation buttons, and they look, like toyish, like comical almost. I don't know. Not comical in the way that they're funny, but like, I don't know. They just don't seem very solid to me.
Am I funny to you? Are you saying I'm a clown?
I know. Comical is not the right word. I meant like Comic Sans comical. I don't know. They're just like rounded, but they do look like the PlayStation buttons, which is weird. You think somebody at Google would have been like, maybe we shouldn't put those in.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the new buttons. I think they look very much like PlayStation buttons, but
yeah,
we'll wait for Sony to file a lawsuit.
Yeah, Samsung's going to slap their own buttons in different orders all over the phone anyway. Everybody will. I'm not singling out Samsung.
Well, I wonder how it's going to work on, let's say you update an older phone with physical buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously nothing's going to change, but
yeah, then they're going to be...
Your brain might explode. Well, I think that is going to bring this week's show to an end. Do you have any final thoughts, Todd?
No, that's it. That's it for me. I'll see everybody in 2 weeks because I'll be off next week.
I'm going on vacation. I'm Todd. I want to take a vacation. Anyway.
Please.
Oh, fine, I guess. Well, as always, we appreciate you joining us, and you can find us on the iTunes Store by searching for the TechnoBuffalo Show, and we do appreciate if you rate and review us. You can also subscribe via RSS feed. You can subscribe on Pocket Cast. You can find us on the Stitcher app, which means you can listen to us anytime, anywhere. So basically, anywhere there are podcasts, there is the TechnoBuffalo Show in my docile tones. Until next week, I have been Sean Ani. I'm the editor-in-chief of TechnoBuffalo. I have been joined by executive editor of Mobile, Todd Hazelton.
Bye, everybody.
Till next week, take it easy, everyone. We'll see you back here. Bye-bye.
See ya.